deal with a lot of businesses and law firms specifically, and these are the most common responses I have gotten over the last 20 years on why lawyers and law firms don't take cybersecurity or IT seriously. There's the I'm too small, we're too small mentality. I'm a one-woman shop, we're a two-man firm doing property in Brooklyn. No one cares about us. Well, on the internet, everyone's your neighbor, including all the psychopaths. So you're on the internet, you're doing email, you're doing documents, you're doing billing, you've got a website. Well, you can't control who gets into it. You can't control who looks at it, and you don't know who is actually targeting you. I have yet to meet a mid to small size law firm that has adequate incident response preparation. What does that mean? It means planning for when things are going to occur. What are you going to do if if the building you're in catches fire or water, sprinklers go off and flood everything in your office? I'm not talking about cyber threats. Cyber is easy and the hard part. I'm talking about people are not preparing for things like, what are we going to do if the subway shuts down? We've been through Sandy, we've been through earthquakes in New York City, we've been through the blackouts. What is your plan to get things done in the middle of those incidents? Block is a typo. Law firms use whatever tools are either low cost, free, or easily available, or what their peers are using in that order. And most of them do a very poor job of storing confidential client data. Every industry in the world, across country, across geography, across language, is facing emerging threats. What are emerging threats? Well, there are old crimes in new bottles. 50 years ago, if I wanted to steal money from your clients or steal checks out of your account, I had to go by your office, go through your mailbox, steal the envelopes, wash them, and that's how I would steal money from you. That required me to be local to you, and if I'm living in Queens, New York, I can't do that threat in Nashville, Tennessee, or California. Well, today we've all moved everything online because it's convenient. Banking, documents, getting funds from clients, getting emails, send money here, send money there. And what you don't realize is if you make more than $100,000 a year in income, you are in the global 1%. And criminals and organizations around the world who make $100,000, $200,000 a month, they look at you as a big, fat target because you are. Lawyers, law firms, and CPA firms are the easiest targets to hit. Why? Because there's no data privacy or data security law specifically targeting law firms and CPA firms. And over the last 25 years, where healthcare got hit by in high tech, and banking and finance got Sarbanes-Oxley, and all the fall down effects, the Bar Association and the CPAs associations have done a very good job in lobbying Congress and state governments to exclude you from data privacy laws. Yes, there are spillover effects, and you may be implementing data privacy because some of your clients require it, but I've done CLE for over 7,000 lawyers in my career over the last 25 years, and the most common pushback I've gotten is, we don't need to do it, there's no law against it. So why are the criminals targeting you? Because they're all Willie Sutton in the end. They go where the money is. And why should I do ID theft and steal a couple of grand from your credit card when I can do a really good fish and steal a couple $100,000 from the escrow funds? Why should I steal a couple $100,000 if I can hack into your firm and either blackmail you for millions or ransomware, extortionware? This is all digital blackmail. So what I'm about to share with you are case studies. Can you guys hear me? Because I heard somebody in chat saying no audio. Somebody let me know.
I can hear you very clearly. You're good.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. What I'm going to share with you are case studies using large law firms. Why do I not have any small firm examples? Because if I used a firm no one heard about, you wouldn't care. And this is not meant to pick on the large law firms. This is to demonstrate that firms of every size, from the one-person shops to the 2,000 employee firms, they're all equally guilty of having really poor security controls and really poor approach to cyber. Because 20 years ago, you don't have to think about it. 10 years ago, we were not teaching cybersecurity as a threat vector or a business risk in law school. Your first years don't know jack about cybersecurity. They're too busy getting famous on TikTok. So you are left to deal with a threat no one's taught you about, with a lot of misinformation online, a lot of snake oil in the industry. Yeah, my industry sells snake oil on a daily basis. And when problems occur with your firm, it's your fault, not anybody else's. That's the way people think. That's the way humans think. So, Ulrich Harrington Sutcliffe. People broke in and stole their data in 2023, and 637,000 people whose data was breached were already victims of previous breaches. And the firm is facing multiple class action lawsuits. What should we learn from this? Turn off all the computers and get off the internet? Great idea in theory, but I don't know how we would make any money doing that. Ditch everything and go live on the beach in Thailand? Great idea, but I don't know how you do billables from there without getting hacked. The lesson to learn from this is start with a clean sheet of paper. You know nothing about cybersecurity. What you've heard on TV, on the radio, on your Twitter feed, on your Facebook is mostly noise and nonsense. And the IT industry is fantastic at marketing and scaring the crap out of people, pardon my language, with really bullshit marketing. So you need to work with people who've been around the block, who are not going to sell you the fastest, snazziest thing. Not everybody needs a Corvette. Not everybody needs a Tesla. Not everybody needs a Learjet. Most of us need a good Honda Civic to go to work and back. Or in New York City, a nice Metro card. Now, Grubman, Shire, Mislis, and Saks. I picked them because they have one famous client that I know about, Lady Gaga. And not only do I know about it, before they got hacked, I had no idea who they were, and even today, I don't know who they were. I could not find them in a lineup. But here's the fun part. When the criminals broke into GSMS systems, they found documents on all their celebrity clients. And they tried to extort the firm for $21 million. And once they figured out that this firm is large and Lady Gaga and a bunch of other celebrities are their clients, they doubled the ransom to $42 million. Were the hackers paid? I have no idea. How much were they paid? I have no idea. And I don't particularly care. The dollar amount is immaterial to me, and it should be immaterial to you. What should be material is this. Some law firms and lawyers get targeted because their public profile, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, lets people know they've got interesting or valuable clients. In other cases, and this has happened to hundreds of companies across America, hackers break in, they analyze your data, they study your documents better than any employee you've ever had. They study your cyber insurance requirements and your cyber insurance coverage and your other insurance coverage better than anybody else, any broker you've ever dealt with. And then they blackmail you for the correct amount. What's the correct amount? Whatever they can get from you. Proskauer and Rose. Now, I picked them up because they're a big firm. And in 2023, 184,000 files containing privileged documents was stolen from their Azure server. Now, Proskauer Rose did not set up their server in the Microsoft cloud. One of the third-party vendors did. And a common problem with cloud vendors and cloud security is until about 18 months ago, The default at Microsoft and Amazon, AWS, and Google Cloud and other vendors was to, by default, let anybody get access to the information. You had to jump through hoops to do proper securing of Azure buckets, S3 buckets, Google Cloud buckets, etc. So, unbeknownst to P&R, for 6 months before they got hacked, their data was sitting out there. Now, imagine if you took your client files, your most privileged client files, put them in a filing cabinet that you left on the street for 6 months in the rain, the snow, the mud, the riots. In the real world, you wouldn't do it now, would you? No, you wouldn't, because that's just dumb. But in cyber, that is so easy to do. Take a minute, look at all the vendors you're currently using. Everybody you're paying money to every month, every quarter, every year. Now, how many of them have you read through their contract? How many of them disclose what vendors they're using? How many of them have buried in the boilerplate that we all click the yes on, that in the event of a data breach, they're not responsible? How many of you can tell me you know exactly which vendor, which platform, which technology your vendors use to deliver their services? The answer is you can't. Neither can I. But you have to vet your vendors. You can't just use whatever everybody else is using. You can't just use whoever's giving you the best deal or the best sale. Depending on size of your firm and the type of your clients, you may have to do more due diligence on the vendors you are using. In my firm, we vet. We're a small firm, 8 people. But I go through weeks, months, sometimes years of vetting our vendors before we select a new vendor for anything. And yes, we Google search them and we do all of that to make sure they were not the poster child for how to do things stupid online. Let's go abroad a little bit. HWL Ebsworth, Australia, one of the largest firms in Australia. The largest bank in Australia, ANZ Bank, is a client of theirs. So is the Australian federal government. And these guys got broken into. The hackers stole about 2.2 million files. And they didn't know they had been broken into. And the hacker said, we want X millions of dollars of Australian dollars. They said no. So the hackers leaked the data on the dark web. You know, it's really bad when you get broken into. It's worse when you find out you've been broken into because your data's on the dark web. And it's a really terrible day when in the US, the Secret Service or the FBI or the local cybercrime consortium knocks on your door and tells you you've been hacked. The bad guys have all your data. And by the way, all your doors are unlocked and your windows are open. Question for you is, every one of you, if somebody copied all your emails or your documents or your billing records or your client files, would you even know? How would you find out? How would you detect it? How do you know that your personal data or your client's data from your firm, from your practice, isn't currently published on the dark web somewhere? Do you have plans to trawl the dark web at least once a quarter or once a year to see if any of your client data is out there? How do you know if any of your data is sitting in a breach out there someplace? Moses Alfonso Ryan Limited. These guys got broken into in 2016. Billing records were frozen. They got hacked so bad, and this is 2016, you know, pretty much the prehistoric dawn of time for cyber in the legal industry. For 3 months, they could not receive payments, pay their vendors, or access key files. This type of attack used to be really popular in 2016 to 2018. It is now used infrequently. It has not gone away. But what will you do if you can't bill, you can't collect money, and you can't pay your salaries and your vendors and your other bills? How do you continue to run as a firm? Do you have enough cash on hand to keep the lights on? And then once you are unfrozen, Well, what is your plan to get unfrozen? Do you have a disaster recovery plan? Do you have an incident response plan? Are you working with somebody competent who actually puts these things in place for you and then tests them? And have you ever done an experiment with, you just lost all your phones and computers, they were all hacked? How do you start from the ground up? How do you keep your business running? How do you deal with your customers? And if you're large enough or your clients are high profile enough, how do you deal with the media? Every cybersecurity law since 1997 requires firms who are impacted by the law to have a disaster recovery plan, incident response plan, and a media handling plan. If your firm gets broken into and the reporters are calling you or your employees, do your employees and contractors know what to say to the media? Do you know what to say to the media if they call you and say, hey, Mr. Barrison, Ms. Jones, we found all your client files on the dark web? Are you going to be deer in the headlights? Do you have a prepared script? Or are you going to wing it? Now, somebody put in chat that you can only see the speaker, not the main screen. You guys can see my slides, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then, Francis, take a look at how you're doing your Zoom because I'm sharing my screen full screen. All right. So I've done enough of the cyber stuff. I'm not going to beat you up over the head over cyber anymore because I'm sure you've heard about this before for the last 10 plus years. And if you haven't, you're going to keep hearing about it in the media and in the blogs and Twitter and Facebook and TikTok, etc. Now let's get to the fun part. AI. AI, is it a friend or a foe? I'm going to tell you both. First up, like I said earlier, my industry is full of a lot of crap marketing. Ignore the hype around AI-fueled cyber attacks. The bad guys don't need AI to attack you. There's enough low-hanging fruit, it's not worth it. You should, on the other hand, keep a very close eye on what you and your staff are filing and what opposing counsel is filing. In the last 2 years, we've had lawyers had their pants handed to them because they filed stuff with the courts that was full of AI hallucinations. Some people were dumb enough to cut and paste AI responses that included the prompts and the AI commentary in the filings. I saw a survey came out last week, 2 weeks ago. Young people, the kids in college, kids who graduated college in the last 3-4 years, kids in high school, kids in middle school, they don't think of AI as dangerous. They grew up with Siri and Alexa. They trust this stuff. They think ChatGPT is cool. More importantly, ChatGPT is useful because they didn't have to write that paper last semester. ChatGPT did it for them. And you'll see influencers on TikTok and Facebook talking about how their entire life is run by ChatGPT. You know, they give ChatGPT the ingredients in their fridge and comes up with the recipe. They give ChatGPT access to all their bills, and it shows them how to lower their debt or increase their income, etc., etc. Robo-lawyer is coming. Your contracts are going to get bigger and bigger because computers make it easier to put every permutation in the paperwork. And I'll just look back at history. 100 years ago, how many contracts are more than 2 or 3 pages for regular work? Not many, because writing them by hand took a long time. Typing by hand made the contracts a little bit bigger. Then we had word processors in the 80s, and contracts got bigger and more permutations and got added and more complications got added. And I was listening to a webinar in the last 18 months where somebody was saying that they're using an AI trained on their contracts to put in every possible risk and combination into the paperwork. Why? Because the computer doesn't care if it's creating a 1-page document or a 1,000-page document. Cost of generation is exactly the same. Whether you put in one complication or you put in 1,000 permutations, the cost of generation of the document is exactly the same. Unlike humans, scaling from a one-page boilerplate agreement to 1,000-page doesn't cost you 1,000 times extra. May not even cost you a nickel extra. You will face AI-generated garbage day in, day out, everywhere you go. Amazon is full of AI-generated novels. Bunch of online magazines and print magazines had to stop accepting submissions where they paid people money because they're getting hammered with AI-generated garbage. You're going to see AI-generated garbage. We're all going to see it in a way we can't comprehend. From AI-generated music to movies to animations to advertising, novels, short stories, podcasts, contracts, textbooks. It's all going to be full of garbage. Here's the good news for people, those of us age 40 and higher. We grew up before all this computer stuff. We learned how to think, writing our papers in junior high with pen and paper or dot matrix printers. We knew how to use the Encyclopedia Britannica. We knew how to use the card catalog. So some of us will have critical thinking skills. And yes, I know I sound like a cranky old man complaining about the next generation, but I don't think the 20-somethings of today have the critical thinking skills and the research skills to do proper work. They're going to need a lot of hand-holding and a lot of training. Now, how is AI a friend? AI lets you search for information that was previously impossible. Yeah, we've now had 20 plus years of Google, and Google made search easy. And then all the marketers and the page rankers made Google into a cesspit. Let's not talk about Bing. Bing is a terrible search engine. And 90% of world's data is not Googleable. It is sitting behind paid walls, in PDFs, on Discord, in abandoned forums, corporate intranets, corporate files, etc. And it's written in languages you don't know how to read and languages you can't pronounce. I'll give you a couple of examples. So Google has been a pioneer in AI, not for search, but for a lot of other things. And they have a fantastic service called Alpha Folding, where they are studying proteins and genomics. Why? Because in America, healthcare is a $4 trillion a year industry. There's a lot of money to be made in medicine. And so Microsoft and Google have invested billions in protein folding, in chemical AIs, and they are patenting or locking down rights to new medications, new chemicals, new compounds previously unimaginable. Now, I forget who, might have been Jensen Huang, who said everything that moves will become a robot. Warehouse labor, cars, trucks, minivans, delivery vehicles, packaging lines, it's all going to be driven by AI. How's that a friend? Well, in some cases, it's going to avoid us having to do manual labor. In other cases, it's going to enable some of you to make millions of dollars in new lawsuits. Medical manufacturers betting big on using AI to manage medications and health conditions. Let's take a look at diabetes and glucose. 20 years ago, you had to prick your fingers to get your A1C reading, and you had to go to your doctor to draw blood to get your actual A1C numbers. Today, for $100 a month, you can buy sensors you put on your arm. It's painless. I did it for 2 weeks as an experiment with my doctor, and it's checking my blood every 10 minutes to get my most current glucose levels. To go from prick your finger daily, get your blood tested every 3 months, to having it checked every 15 minutes automatically, painlessly, and recorded via an app and going into the cloud, where it's not just showing me graphs and trends and what times I should eat and what meals spike my sugar, but what I can do to improve my health. And this is happening across every disease condition you can think of. Look at Apple Watches, look at a bunch of smart watches coming out with blood pressure sensors and heart rate monitors. This movement of hyper monitoring at the level of individual sleep patterns, ovulation patterns, all of that is going to revolutionize healthcare in ways we can't imagine. And I've been playing with an AI to do a document analysis of my own documents. I'm not putting them up in ChatGPT or DeepSeek. My contracts and stuff don't go into any AI vendor that I know of. I don't upload them to any AI vendor. Yes, I know Microsoft is analyzing my documents because I use Microsoft 365, no control over that. But I've been building an AI at BrainLink to analyze my own documents, and some of the analysis is just jaw-droppingly amazing. There are other opportunities. So I've had marketers working for me since 1997. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketers and copywriting, and the current breed of free AI copywriters are better than 90% of the humans I've ever hired. This is stuff you can do for free today. I think the copywriting profession is going to become a niche profession because majority of people and majority of companies will use what the AI generated, and it's going to go the way of leather whip manufacturers or buggy manufacturers. Cars did not put the buggy whip manufacturers out of business, made them into a niche business. They still exist. They just don't make as many buggies as they used to. I'm a tech. I've been writing code since I was 14. And for the last last month and a half, I've been experimenting with some code writing AIs. And their code is better documented than any developer I've ever met, including myself. The AI code is easy to read, easy to follow, easy to debug. This is going to make 90% of programmers unemployed. We're going to need the top 10% who are good at solving problems the computer can't, who are good at understanding new stuff, who are good at fixing the problems AI code generates. Because, the code is buggy. There's some code it generated didn't work at all. I spent 2 days with the AI. Then I hired somebody off of Upwork who fixed the problem in about 2 hours because they knew something about the code that the AI had not figured out yet. My question for you is, what is AI analysis going to do to e-discovery and paralegals, junior attorneys? For some smaller firms, it's going to give you capabilities you never had. Hiring a robo-para or robo-intern is a lot cheaper than paying humans. With the caveat that it's going to generate garbage documents and garbage data, and you have to proofread it all 3 times. For your mid-sized firms, what's it going to do to your hiring plans? AI will not reduce the need for lawyers, paras, and juniors to take a deep breath. You're all going to be employed long after the sun explodes. But it will change the value proposition. What you used to previously charge for may have to change. How you bill may have to change. And you may have to, at some point, go from billing by time to billing by capability. My firm went through that 15 years ago. My firm's around for 30 years. We started out billing by the hour. Then we sold blocks of time. And in 2009, a prospect said, I'm not paying you by the hour. I'm not paying you 10, 20 blocks of hours at a time. I want to pay you $99 a month per employee in my firm. I had a, oh shit moment. I had a, oh my God, how do I make any money at $99 a month per human when I'm billing $200 an hour back in 2009, 2010? And then I spent 3 months Googling and looking at firms who had moved from time-based billing to service-based billing, flat rate billing on IT. Now we call it managed services. For me, 2009, 2010 was scary. Oh, by 2010, our new customer was on flat rate billing. We didn't make money on that customer. By 2011, we had moved all of our customers to the new billing model. By 2012, we were profitable in ways I could not imagine. We don't bill by time. You don't hire me by the hour. You hire my firm on a flat rate on a monthly basis for services. And we deliver better services than we've ever had, at cheaper than you could pay us by the hour, and we make more money doing it. I submit to you that the time-based billing, except for certain services, is a artifact of the past. Now, other opportunities. And this is happening in every disease, in every country, in every medical enterprise, every pharmaceutical. They're throwing AI at medical records, test results, and the AI is, you're hearing the points where the AI did better detection. And we're not going back. The opportunity for some of you is going to be, if the AI denies your claim or your client's claim, how do you sue? When it's human making a decision, you can go find the human and you can put them on the stand and ask them, are you telling the truth? When it's AI and it's locked behind proprietary algorithms and probably third party and fourth party and fifth party rights, how do you depose the opposing side when it's a machine that made the decision and not a human being? To me, that is a fantastic opportunity for smart, enterprising attorneys to look at, because every area of our life is going to be machine driven. Look at Teslas. Teslas, they're not cars, they're robots. And lots of people have paid money to get Tesla's auto drive features. Here's what Tesla doesn't tell you. In incident after incident after incident, milliseconds before a crash, they automatically disable the AI, so that at the end of the day, the human driver is responsible for the crash. Every auto manufacturer is going from humans drive the car to the robot drives the car. BYD, the largest car manufacturing company in China, and it's bigger than Tesla. They sell more cars than Tesla's ever had. Just last week, they are delivering their most advanced AI, self-driving capabilities, in cars costing $10,000. Humans driving cars are a relic of the past. The manufacturers want to do this because it's going to make them more money and they can sell new cars. And they can control and charge you by the feature. You want heated seats? That's your extra subscription. You want AM radio? That's an extra subscription. At some point, seat belts, extra subscription. They want to go from selling you a car once to making money every month on subscription fees. My challenge to you, my lovely audience, is how are you going to make money on this? What are your plans for litigating against the robots? And yes, you will need your own robots to fight their robots. United Healthcare, they're in the news. I don't know why, but they're in the news a lot lately. And we can leave Luigi aside, but here's a fun one. UHC has a subsidiary called NaviHealth. NaviHealth's big promise was they were going to use AI to manage claims. Here is what the Senate, the U.S. Senate, on permanent investigations found. NaviHealth denied claims 12.6% of the time. Their AI is denying claims at nine times the higher rate than the previous 3 years before they used the AI. If you've got family members in a hospital, in skilled nursing facilities, and you've got United Healthcare as your insurance for Medicare Part D, or whatever Medicare Part it is, how do you sue those bastards? My mom spent 2 years in hospital and rehab. She passed away recently. And my sister's full-time job was taking care of my mom. And our other full-time job was fighting with the insurers on a day-in, day-out basis. And, as a child, I thought AARP was for old people. Now I'm over 50 and I'm a member of AARP. Here's what I learned just this quarter. AARP is not an organization for senior citizens and elderly people. It is a United Healthcare marketing arm pretending to be a membership organization. Why is it in the entire history that AARP has only marketed United Healthcare health plans? They make billions of dollars each year from UHC. AAA does not make me buy insurance from one carrier. AAA does not recommend one car insurance company. AARP only recommends one health insurance company to its members. And that's because AARP is a marketing division of United Healthcare. Doge. Anybody heard about these guys? They're feeding all of our data into their AI. To me, Doge is a lifetime employment act for constitutional law attorneys, labor union attorneys, civil rights attorneys, Title IX attorneys. If you haven't looked at Doge as a business opportunity, I got to ask you, why not? This is the biggest gift to lawyers we've had in my lifetime. And look at your targets. You can sue the federal government. You can sue the agencies. You can sue the individual employees. You can sue Elon Musk and all his companies and all the 20-year-olds he has given free rein on our data. This is one of the most terrifying things that has happened in American history. I can't wait for the lawsuits. Here are my recommendations, because we're coming close to the end of my time. Number 1, review your cyber insurance policy requirements. If you haven't read them, read them. If you don't understand them, engage me, send me a copy, and I'll help you understand what's in it. If you read them and you think you understand them, let me know that and engage me at double my rate so I can help you understand what you don't understand about your cyber insurance policy requirements. You need to have cyber insurance. You need to have good cyber insurance. And your broker will not tell you what is a good policy versus bad. There's a lot of bad policies out there, and most brokers do not have a clue about cyber. You need good policies with good requirements, good controls, and it's going to cost you. The good policies are not cheap. They're not free. You've heard this before from everybody else. I'll tell you again, you need to have multi-factor to log into your computer, your email, your cloud apps, banking, healthcare, Amazon, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, you name it. If you're not using multi-factor on any of this, you're leaving yourself open to getting screwed. And unfortunately, in America, due to our laws and the way the banks have watered down cybersecurity requirements, my Amazon account has more security than all my banks and financial institutions combined. Amazon and Gmail have better security than any bank in America, and that's a sad indictment of us as a society. Train yourself and your staff to not approve multi-factor requests unless you initiated it. Don't hit OK because you're used to hitting OK on your Duo app or your Microsoft Authenticator or other multi-factor apps. If you didn't initiate it, don't hit approve. Be wary of DocuSign emails. I can't tell legitimate DocuSign from fakes because DocuSign's template sucks. And unfortunately, because they make life easy, we've all gotten used to getting DocuSign, and we click on the link, and then it tells you who it's from and what it's about. If I'm not expecting a DocuSign emails go to delete. And some of my attorneys and some of my vendors have had to send me emails 2 or 3 times because I auto deleted it, or if I'm not expecting it, I'm not opening it. Triple check before wiring funds. I don't care how good the fish is. I don't care how tight your deadline is. If you wire funds to an unknown third party, there is no insurance against it. And I've been involved in meetings where somebody in the middle of a very hectic project wired $1 million to a scammer. And there was no recourse. Their firm was out $1 million cash. And because we talked about AI and AI is our future, hire yourself an AI tutor. Hi, I'm available. And if you have a good cybersecurity person at your beck and call who's engaged with your firm, fantastic. If you don't, and most of you probably do not, then you might want to consider engaging me in my firm to improve your cyber defenses and or implement AI in your practice. What do? We don't eliminate threats, we mitigate them. You can read the slide on your own. This is my contact info. We're open for questions.
All right. Can we give the code?
For those of you who made it to this far, the code for today is kumquat. One of my favorite words in the English language. That's how you get your CLE.
And I will take spelling variations just in case you don't.
You know what? Go ahead, ask me your questions. Okay, Sid Smith, how do you crawl the dark web to check? You don't, I don't. There are third-party service companies you can hire to do it. We use one of the vendors and a couple of vendors to do it for you. And depending on the size of your firm and your revenues, it's something you may have to do. You may want to do annually, quarterly. I know of a customer where their vendors do a daily dark web search for all of their customers. David, I'm not going to debate politics with you. That's fine. But I still think no matter which side of the fence you're on, litigating because of Doge is going to be a wonderful business opportunity. Okay, Pamela, you know what? I'll put the word is kumquat.
I put it in the chat 2 times.
Okay, perfect. There we go.
So you're good to go.
All right. Yeah. Vincent, thank you for that lovely thing in the chat about getting the 200,000 wire to a Polish account. I'm going to tell you 2 stories. One of them is I got an email yesterday from one of my largest customers. It was a lovely fish that they sent me, telling me I would get a laugh. Yes. At the beginning of the year, we all get the past year's bonuses email. And the owner of the firm, the CEO of the firm, got an email from an attacker telling him his bonus had been reduced to 0. We both laughed at it. Now comes the scary story. One of our clients is a wealth manager, and he has a client who travels around the world on a regular basis, and he has a disabled child, and he buys horses from around the world, Argentina, Spain, you name it. And they got a request to wire $500,000 from his funds to a horse farm in Spain. And my client, not being a dummy, they don't honor any email requests for wiring funds without voice verification. So they called their customer. They said, "Hey, Bob," and his name is not Bob, but I'm going to call Bob for this presentation. Did you ask us, are you buying a horse in Spain? No, I haven't been in Spain in 3 months. We got an email from you, asking us to send $500,000. He goes, "Yeah, I heard that from my CP and a bunch of other people. People are getting the emails from me. I don't know what's going on." So their end customer had been hacked for over 6 months. The attackers were in his email. They were in his financials. They were crafting perfect emails. Not a typo, no misspellings, no weird foreign English, pure American English, exactly the way he wrote it. And if my client hadn't had the process that says we don't wire any funds without voice verification, they would have been out of $500,000. Go look at the fishes you're getting. Look at the emails you're getting. Use them to train yourself and train your staff on what is a good fish versus a bad fish. All right. Somebody asked what I would think of Leap Legal software using Amazon Cloud for security. I don't have an opinion on Leap Legal or any other particular software. Every IT company in the last 10 years is using either Amazon or Microsoft Cloud or Google Cloud for their back end. It's like asking me, what I would think of King Arthur Flour or what I think of, Dunkin' Donuts versus Bob's Donuts. The ingredients are all the same, but there's a big difference between Dunkin' Donuts and Bob's Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts are terrible and Bob's are fantastic, but that's my opinion. You have to look at each of your vendors in detail depending on what they're costing you or what the risk to you is. Somebody said, we're a small firm and we shut down our computers entirely when we're not working. Won't that protect us from hackers? Well, where's your email? Is it living in Gmail or Microsoft Cloud? Where's your billing software? Where's your client documents? The days that we can shut our computer down and protect us from hackers are long gone because some or all of your data is sitting in the cloud on somebody else's servers. You've got to deal with each vendor on a case-by-case basis and on a firm-by-firm basis. What is an acceptable risk for a one-person firm is not an acceptable risk for a 30-person firm and is absolutely not an acceptable risk for a 500-person firm. There is no one-size-fits-all. Any other questions?
Nope. I have one comment and one question.
Sure.
So my comment is going back to the wire transfers. We have seen horror stories in our industry with attorneys and with title companies. If you get an email, pick up the phone. Don't call the number on the signature line. Google it, look it up in your contacts, pick up the phone. I know we hate to pick up the phone, but sometimes you just have to pick up the phone. That's my number one suggestion to everyone. And also, if you discover a security breach or think you might be compromised, what would be the first thing you would do? The first step, you accidentally click a link, you have that, oh no moment, because I'm rushing and I just hit something. If you think you're compromised, what's the first thing you would do?
Okay. So first, Diana, I fully agree with you. Pick up the phone. And for most of us on this call, that's the easy part. For your 20-somethings, 30-somethings, they would rather have root canal than pick up the phone. So teaching them to pick up the phone is going to be a fun part of you as a business owner or manager. Now, asking me what would I do if I had to click the oh no moment is like asking me what am I going to do if I have a house fire? And newsflash, my house did have a house fire in 2019. But because mortgage and real estate is properly regulated, at least in this state, our bank required us to have homeowners insurance and fire insurance and all of that. So when we had a house fire, I called my public adjuster. We went through 18 months of dealing with the recovery. We recovered just fine. If we had not had the house fire, our life would be radically different. So similarly, do you have good security controls in place? Do you have good security software in place? Do you have good training in place? Do you have a good cyber coverage in place? That's where I start with first. And I know that's not the answer you want to hear. We're going to have, oh crap moments. I have them at least once a week myself because the stuff is so good. But here's what I don't worry about. I don't worry about the bad guys sucking our clients' data or our billing data or all of that because we have good controls, good tools, great backups, which we test diligently. And by the way, I can promise you for 90% of you, your IT person is lying to you. They're telling you have backups. Yes. Everybody backs up. Not everybody recovers. My firm exists because we learned that lesson early on. You and your IT people hate to do backup and disaster recovery testing. It is not fun. It is not sexy. It doesn't get you on the news. You don't want to pay for it and they don't want to do it. They don't know your data and you're too busy doing billables or going on the beach. If you do not make disaster recovery a priority for your firm, I promise you, it's going to become a priority after you have a disaster. Disasters are not merely a hacker getting into your system. For every client who got hacked by a hacker, I have three more who got shut down because of fire sprinklers going off and shorting all the computers. My dad used to work on the Shannon building, 42nd Street. I don't know if you guys remember in the early 2000s, Con Ed blew a steam pipe. Building was inaccessible for 3 weeks. I don't worry about hackers. Verizon and Con Ed do a great job of shutting people down on a random basis. Fires, floods, smokes. If you're in California and your house burned down, how do you carry on with your life? How do you carry on with your business? You're in Asheville, North Carolina, a great place to visit, and the tornadoes rip through your town. New York City is in a flood zone. Most of us are living in a flood zone. Do you have flood insurance? Do you have plans in place for what happens if your building is uninhabitable? After 9/11, I did a presentation that I did around the country and then in Europe. And basically, the punchline was we have to rewrite the laws on building disaster recoveries because the code allowed you to put generators and diesel pumps in the basement, which is great until Sandy hit and NYU Langone lost all power and people and their staff had to carry patients down on gurneys and stairwells. You can't put diesel fuel above the third floor. You can't put generators, at least in New York, above the third floor. So deal with hackers, treat them as muggers. At some point, you're going to get mugged. The question is, do you lose everything or just what's in your pocket? Can I share a sample engagement with flat fees? No, I cannot. Go talk to your peers. I'm not a lawyer. I can't share with you my contracts. But if you're a solo professional, go talk to your peers. Some of them are doing it. Go talk to the ABA. Go talk to New York. Go talk at the bar. But the era of flat rate billing, which is going to make some of you a lot more money than you ever imagined, is coming. All right. What do I think of VPN to remote in? Anonymous attendee, I don't know who you are. VPNs were a great solution for threats 30 years ago. 20 years ago, we put VPNs on all of our clients. 5 years ago, we took them all out. VPNs are an outdated technology. That's like asking me, can I drive a manual car? I never learned how to drive a manual. If I got in a car with a clutch, I'm calling an Uber. All right, I believe my time is up. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much, Raj, for a great presentation. We really appreciate it. It was very interesting. Thanks, everyone, for coming, and we hope to see you next month.
And if you've got any questions you're afraid to ask on the session, there's my email, there's my cell. Email me, text me, just let me know who you are. I do not respond to anonymous attendees. I do respond to human beings.
Have a great day, everyone.
Goodbye, all.